everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Cowl, and it is Jo with you today. Hello. Today we are making this cute pennant bunting. This is pennant B because we have a different pennant today as well. This one is the inverted V and the other one is a pointy V, pointy flag. So pennant just meaning flag really. So this is what we're making today and I love it. It is small and cute and I just love it. It works up nice and quickly. You can make as many of these little flags as you like in any colours you like, not needing much yarn, and yeah, it's great. So great for hanging anywhere you like, and it would be great in pastels as well as brights. So the world is your oyster. Use your imagination, be creative. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start by making some of our pennants, which just means flag really. So we've got the inverted V there, and we're going to make some of these little pennants. So I've got a variety of colours here, and you can see that I still have my ends to sew in, and I'm just using up some odd scraps of yarn, so you really don't need very much. I mean, this one here would probably make 2, maybe 3. You really do not need much at all. So I'm just using up some of my scraps of yarn. I'm going to make one in this lovely green and add it to my pile. So I've got a 4.5mm hook, and this is DK light worsted weight 8-ply yarn. You can use any yarn, any hook you like. The only difference between your yarn and mine, and your yarn and hook and mine, is the size that it comes out at. I will tell you what size this is. Let me find my ruler. Okay, so these are 2 2¼ inches by 2.5 inches, okay? Or if you prefer centimetres, they are 6 centimetres by 7 at the longest point, okay? So if that's what size mine came out as, but tension, yarn, everything makes a difference. So see how you go, but you can make them with chunky yarn, you can make them with fine thread, whatever you choose, okay? But that's what mine came out as, with DK and a 4.5. So let's get started on one of these little beauties. So this is a really simple pattern, and once you've made 1 or 2, you are quite likely to just have the pattern stuck in your head, and you just be able to make them up to your heart's content while you're watching the TV or something, having a Netflix binge, listening to an audiobook, something that I'm trying to get back into, so that I can read and crochet at the same time. Okay, so start with a slip knot on your hook, and then chain 11. Okay, chain 11. Now I like to work into the back bump. If you look, you have 2 loops at the front and you have a bump at the back, and that's what I like to go in. I just find that it keeps the front nice and neat, but you can go into 1, 2 loops or the back bump, entirely up to you. So you want to go into the second chain from the hook and do a single crochet. Now working in the back bump is not the easiest to get into, but I do find that it just gives you a neater look. Okay, so that's why I like to do it. It gives that first edge a neat look. So then you're going to do a single crochet in every chain along, and you will have 10 single crochets by the end of this row. So 10 single crochets, and I will see you when I've finished all 10. and there are my 10 single crochets. So now you just want to make 7 more rows of single crochet, so you'll have 8 rows altogether. So chain 1, turn your work over, and then do a single crochet into that first single crochet, and then all the way along 10 single crochets all the way along. And you're going to do this for 8 rows. So at the end of the row you will chain 1, turn your work and work back along, 10 single crochets, and then I will just show you, just finish these 10. Much easier when you're working into stitches and not the chain. Much easier. The last stitch of the row of a single crochet is always the trickiest. It likes to go over to the front slightly. There we go. So that's my second row. Now, the way to know whether you're on an odd or an even numbered row. So when we started, I'm right-handed. I had my the tail of my chain to the left, okay, the left, and I worked along from right to left. That was row 1 with my tail to the left. Row 2, I worked back along, and I had the tail to the right. So now it's row 3, and it will be worked this way. So every odd row you will have the tail to the left. Every even row you'll have it to the right. So when I've done my 8th row, if you're not quite sure, because counting single crochet rows can be difficult, if you're not quite sure, then your 8th row, if you're right-handed, you'll have the tail on the right. Okay, so 8 rows, and then I will see you back. Okay, I have 8 rows here. And now it's time to make the points. So as you can see, we're working upside down here. So we're going to make the points now. We're going to make 1 point, and then we're going to join another piece of yarn and make the second point. Okay, that's how we do this. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work around back to the right side. And we're going to do 5 single crochets along, just 5, so to halfway. Okay, when you've done 5 single crochets, you're going to chain 1, turn your work around, and then we're going to do a single crochet 2 together over the first 2 stitches. So for a single crochet 2 together, we go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then into the second stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and then if you look, you just have 1 stitch there at the top. Okay, and then do a single crochet into each of the next 3. So we've gone from 5 down to 4 single crochets. So what we're doing is keeping this edge straight, but we're tapering up this inside piece. Okay, so we went from 5 to 4, and now we're going to chain 1 and turn, keeping this edge straight. So we're going to single crochet in the first stitch and the second stitch, and then in the next 2 stitches we're going to do a single crochet 2 together. So into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, into the last stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And now you've gone down to 3 stitches. Okay, 5, 4, 3. So the next row is going to be 2, and we're doing the tapered edge. So chain 1, turn your work, single crochet 2 together, the first 2 stitches. So into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and then single crochet in the last stitch. So you now have 2 stitches on your row, chain 1. So now we want to go down to 1 stitch, so we're going to do these 2 stitches together. So single crochet 2 together, yarn over, pull through, and into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. You've got 1 stitch there, and then just to make this slightly more of a point, we're going to turn, no chain, just turn your work, go into that first stitch, so under those 2 loops, and do a slip stitch. So yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook. Okay, and then yarn over, pull through to fasten off. Okay, so pull through, cut the yarn, and then pull that tightly, and that gives you your point. There we go. Okay, so you can see we've got a nice straight side, but it tapers down here. Okay, so we're going to do the next side. So turn your work, so you've got the tail of the bottom edge to the left, and this triangle on the right. If you're right-handed, if you're left-handed, it will be the other way around. Okay, if you're right-handed, you want it on the right side, so tail to the left and triangle to the right. And we're going to join some yarn. Now I like to go straight in and make a single crochet. So what I do is I get a slip knot on my hook, and we're going to go into the 6th stitch along. So it's the stitch next to the last stitch of this triangle. Okay, so the next stitch here. Okay, and so I like to go in with a slip knot on my hook. You can join your yarn and you can chain 1, and then you can do your single crochet if you prefer, but this is how I like to do it. So go into that stitch, and I like to do a single crochet but make it slightly bigger than usual because it will sort of taper down a bit. So I just like to do it slightly looser than normal, and there we go. And then I'm going to work over the tail. Okay, so then do a single crochet in the next 4 stitches, so you have 5 single crochets along there. You're going to do another one of these triangles. Excuse me. Okay, so we've got 5 single crochets there. So we're keeping the edge straight, remember, and tapering the center. So chain 1, turn your work, single crochet in the first 3 stitches, 3 single crochets, and then we're going to do single crochet 2 together for the last 2 stitches. Okay, so we're now down to 4 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work, single crochet 2 together, the first 2 stitches, and a single crochet in each of the next 2. Now we have 3 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work, single crochet in the first stitch, 2 together on the next 2 stitches, 2 stitches on the row, chain 1 and turn, and single crochet 2 together these last 2 stitches that are there. And you've now got 1 stitch, turn your work, no chain, go into that stitch and do a slip stitch, and then yarn over, pull through, snip your yarn and pull that through nice and tightly, and there we go. Now I'm going to, I'm going to snip this off where I worked over this tail. It does only go this one way, so if you want to make it more secure, then work it back along, sew it back along, but I'm really not that worried about it. It's not going to get too much pulling about. It's going to be hanging, so it's not going to be like a blanket that gets pulled about in every direction. So it might go in the washing machine, but to me I'm happy with that. But you can, if you want to make it much more secure, then work it back along. Okay, so that is how easy to make your pennant. So simple, worked up in just a few minutes. Really simple, and it just looks great in a mix and match of colours. It just, I love them. It's just so simple. So yeah, just, you know, all these different colours. You could do a rainbow, you could do an ombre, you know, going from pale to dark. You could just Oh, you could do it black and white, you could change it up however you like. I'm loving this multicolour effect. So, if you like these tails hanging down, not this one here, if you like these tails hanging down, you could leave them there. But I'm going to sew them in. And just remember, when you're sewing them in, don't pull them too much. If you pull it too much, you're going to lose that point. Okay, so just work it in, but try not to lose your point. Okay, and the good thing with these is that this yarn here, although it is technically DK, it's a little thinner than some of the others. So, and this one was quite sort of thicker and fluffier, but it doesn't matter. They all kind of are almost the same size. So I just love them. They're just so simple to work up, and so cheerful. So that's how you make this pennant. So simple. Okay, so the next thing to do is to connect these. Now you could sew the ends in first, you could block these. I mean, blocking these would actually really help because it would make them sort of hang flat and curl because it's curling. See, this one's very curled. So you could block them first. You can just pin them down to a thick towel, or if you've got a foam mat, pin them down and then just give them a mist of water, just dampen them a little, and then leave them to dry. And when they've dried, they should be holding their shape nicely, okay, and laying flat, not curling like this, okay. You can do that once you've attached them all together. You do need your ends sewn in too before you block them, ideally. Now, I'm going to sew my ends in a few minutes, but I'm just going to do this next part of the video with you and show you about connecting them. Okay, now I've chosen black to connect them because I'm probably going to hang this outside of my garden along the fence. So I'm going to make it a lot longer. I am going to make it longer than just, I've got 5. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at 5. So I'm going to use black because it could get a bit, you know, grubby. So I don't want to use white. And I couldn't think what colour to put with these, so I'm just going to use black. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just take these at random. But if you want them in any particular order, just make sure you've got them in order and stack them up in reverse order to how you want them. Okay, so I'm going to start with this turquoisey teal colour. Okay, so just stack them in the order that you want them. So you take the first one, the top one first, okay, and then decide what colour you're going to have for joining, which will be all the way along the top. So as I said, ideally you will have them the tails all sewn in. This top piece you do not need to sew in unless you want to make sure it's sewn one way and then the other and back again and make it really secure. I'm going to work over it just for purely for quickness, really, to save me sewing all of it in right now. But if you want to make it really secure, then you could sew it in first. Okay, so take your connecting yarn. You could use a ring to connect with, and I have shown you on previous bunting garland videos. You can use a ring like a split ring that you'd use for a key ring. You can use like a small curtain ring or any type of plastic, wooden, metal ring that if you want to use that to hang your bunting on a hook, okay, on the wall or wherever, or you can just chain and then use that to hang it. You can chain and then make a loop with your yarn. Can't really do, I'm not doing a very good job of making a loop. You can make a loop with your chain. Okay, so I'm just going to do it without a ring. I'll take my first pennant and I'm going to chain first actually. So I'm going to chain, what should we do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I think I'm going to go back into the first one and do a slip stitch and make a ring. So this ring can be used for hanging it up now, okay? And then I'm going to, that was a chain of 10, and then I'm going to chain another 10. Okay, now this is entirely up to you. If you want it longer, if you want a longer piece for for hanging it up before you have your first pennant and then make a longer bit. Actually, I think I'm going to make 20, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so I've got a chain of 20 there, and this one was 10 to make the ring. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is take my first little flag, and as I said, I'm going to work over that end there, go into the first stitch. Now remember, this has worked this way up, so when we work this way, we're going to be going into the bottom of the chains. Okay, so just bear in mind, it won't be quite like a regular stitch because we're going into the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to join, put my hook in there. I'm going to straight away do a single crochet, no messing about, no chain one, straight in with a single crochet, and then I'm going to go along into all 10 of these and make a single crochet in every one, working over that tail. Okay, you're just into the chain there below the stitch that you've, or above, sorry, the stitch that you've made previously. Okay, so work along there. Not quite as easy as going into an actual stitch, but not too difficult. Okay, so that's that one done. I've got 10 stitches there. Now, I don't want them to be absolutely right next to each other, okay? I don't want them to be right next to each other like this. So I'm going to chain 5, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then take the next one, go straight into the first stitch or first chain. I'm going to work over that tail and make a single crochet. It's all twisting around though. Let's make sure it's not twisting too badly. There we go, and then work along. Okay, just the same as before. And again, depending on how long your bunting is, depends on how much yarn you're going to need, but this connection strip actually doesn't take much yarn at all. Great project for your scrap pieces. Okay, so I'm going to do another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I will join another one, which I'll do off camera in a moment. So this is what we've got so far. We have our ring for hanging it, and then we have some chain coming off of there, just so it's from wherever you hang it, you've got a bit of distance. And then I've got my first pennant flag, chain 5, and then my next pennant flag, and then another chain 5, ready to do the next one. And that is as simple as it is. So simple. And you can see how if you left these hanging, they would still look pretty good. They would still look pretty good. So up to you if you want to sew them in or leave them as just sort of something decorative. And then, sorry, not and then, I'm going to attach the rest of these, and then I will come back and show you the finished piece. Okay, so I have joined all 5 of mine together, and I've done a chain 5 by the last one, and then I've just popped a stitch marker on there because I'm going to make some more of these. This isn't the finished product, okay? And then what I'll do when I have finished and I've got as many as I want, then I will finish the other end in exactly the same way as I started. I will chain 20, not 5, I'll do 20. No, I'll do 30. So I'll do 30, and then I will slip stitch back in the 10th chain from the hook and make a loop, just like I did this end. Okay, and then I'll fasten off, and then each end I'll have one of these loops, and then these 20 chains, okay? And then it can be hung up. So this is it. And then if you haven't blocked it already, actually, you just need to, if you've sewn over these ends, then the easy thing to do worked over is just pull it slightly, so you can see that's just bunched up slightly, snip, and then stretch it back out, and then that end just pops back in there. Okay, so I'm just going to do that, and so just pull it slightly and stretch it back out, and that end just pops in there and hides itself, which is the best way to cut any ends off. Let it pop back in and hide. Okay, there we go. So if you haven't already sewn the tails in and you want to, you don't want to leave them hanging, then now's the time to do that. Sew those ends in. Remember, leave your points pointy. And then if you haven't blocked it and you want to, you don't want it curling up, then now's the time to do that as well. Okay, so I said you can pin them out individually and block them with a spray of water, let them dry. If you've got it like this, then again, just take a thick towel or a folded up towel or a foam cushion, even a piece of thick cardboard, like a piece of the side of a box or something, and pin it down and then mist it with water and leave it to dry. And you can just leave it along in its row like so. Okay, and if you've got a very long bunting, then you can do some at a time. You can do a few and then move those along. Just pile them all up neatly. Just fold them all up in a pile nice and neatly, and then spread the next lot out and do those, and then work along like so. So I'm going to do these ends, deal with all these because I don't actually want them to hang. So I'm going to deal with this, and then I'll show you the final product in just a moment. Okay, so I hope you found this useful and helpful, and you've enjoyed making some of these, or you're going to go off and make some of these now. They're so much fun to make. I absolutely loved making these, and I can't wait to make some more. And I have a box with so many of these little bobbins that I've made of ends of yarn. Obviously that's not enough, but I've just got a box with loads of these. I just spent a day, well, not a day, I spent one day making some of these, and so I'm just going to have some random colours, and I can't wait to make some more when I'm watching the telly later. So if you found this useful and helpful, then please consider clicking that like button, give us a thumbs up, it's really appreciated, and yeah, just share the love with us. Any comments or questions, leave them at the bottom of the page in the comment section, and if you want the written instructions for this, then have a look in our Facebook group, and the link for that is in the description below. And if you want to have a look at any other bunting patterns that we've done so far this month, they are in the playlist, which is in the description below as well. And until next time, just keep hooking and don't let your seat get cold.